Hey guys, and welcome to the Dota 2 how-to guide for playing Luna. This is a quick guide to give an overview on skills, suggest a skill and item build, and give some general gameplay tips. So Luna is a ranged agi hero who starts off with 15 strength, 22 agi, and 16 int, and gains 1.9, 2.8, and 1.85 respectively. This means she's got tiny health pool and really a good amount of damage going on. Makes her a very fragile kind of carry, which, you know, is so cool. So, onto her abilities. She starts out with her first ability being Lucent Beam. This has an 800 cast range and will stun the enemy for 0.6 seconds and deals 75 to 300 damage. This has a 6-second cooldown and costs 90 to 120 mana. So this actually has a large amount of damage nuke potential and costs almost no mana early on really compared to many spells, and has a tiny cooldown. Her second ability is Moonglaive. This causes your auto attack to bounce to nearby enemies. Now it'll bounce between 1 and 5 times in a radius of 500, and it reduces the amount of damage it does by 35% each bounce. Meaning that it will, it will go down in damage, so the last target's hit will take a considerable amount less damage. Her third ability is Lunar Blessing. This gives you 14 to 38 bonus damage to you and allies that are in a 900 radius of you. However, it does also mean that Luna's night vision is 1800, which means that she has a huge vision at night. Her final ability is Eclipse. This actually is a slightly fun ult. I mean, it's got a 675 radius, and it will summon 4 to 10 of your current level of Lucent Beams, hitting random enemies around you. Now, this has a duration of 1.8 to 5.4 seconds, so that, there is an interval between the strikes of 0.6 seconds. And the maximum amount of time it can hit a target is 4 times per target. Now, this is upgradable with Aghanim's to make it do 4 to 12 beams instead of 4 to 10. It'll also have a duration of 1.8 to 6.6 instead of the normal duration, and it means that the max hits per target actually becomes unlimited. So, Ags makes it very good for burning down sort of 1 to 2 heroes. Now, it's got a 160 second to 140 second cooldown and costs 150 to 250 mana, so it is quite mana intensive on an agi carry that doesn't have the best mana gain, but, oh well. So, on to items. Starting items wise, generally a good set of items to get on Luna is 3 Ironwood branches, a Ring of Protection, Tango, and a Healing Salve. Reason why the Ring of Protection is, well, you're very squishy, so having the extra armor gives a little bit more survivability. Plus, it builds into an early game item that's great on Luna, which is Ring of Aquila. So once you've got sort of Ring of Aquila and basic sort of Boots of Speed, you can get a Magic Wand as well to give you additional potential for nuking down the enemy hero, but not 100% essential, I would say. You're going to want to look to move on to getting sort of Power Treads complete, getting a Drum of Endurance, a Yasha, and a BKB. Now, getting BKB quite early on Luna is very kind of critical, because she is hugely squishy, and so if you come up against a hero that's got good magic nuke, they're going to be able to kill you before you can actually bring them down. Which is why if you can pop BKB, okay, look, now you can melt them. It's absolutely fine, they're not going to do anything to you. Beyond that, Helm of the Dominator can be a very good item, along with a Manta style. You generally will want to finish the Manta style after getting the Yasha, but picking up a Helm of the Dominator quite early also gives you a huge amount of survivability. Now, going on from this, you can look towards getting something like a MKB, because the extra damage in the mini-stun along with the attack speed really helps you sort of melt through heroes. You can look towards getting a Satanic because it makes you so survivable. Satanic is one of the best items on Luna, in all fairness. And you can look towards grabbing a Butterfly. Now obviously if you can get a Butterfly and a Satanic, you're basically just laughing all the way, because you've got your BKB, so you're magic immune, you've got evasion, you've got huge lifesteal, you can fight a lot of people with that. So, all in all though, you don't have much damage, and there's a reason for that, which is your damage generally comes a lot from your abilities as opposed to from items on Luna, which is slightly awkward for a hard carry. But you do end up with a good amount of attack damage as well. So, onto abilities anyway. Your first ability is, onto skill build. Your build order should generally be taking Lucent Beam at 1, 3, 5, and 7. Taking Moonglaves at 8, 9, 10, and 12, taking Lunar Blessing at 2, 4, 13, and 14, and taking Eclipse when you can, and stats when you have to. The reason why you max out Lucent Beam is it does a lot of damage and it makes your ult do more damage. The reason why you leave Moonglaves to a bit later is because it'll push the lane very early on, and you don't really want that when you're farming. And Lunar Blessing, well, it's extra damage, it makes last hitting easier and that, so that's why you tend to sort of skill that way. I mean, you can slightly vary it, but that's a pretty damn solid way to skill for sort of early game and that. Now, onto general gameplay wise, you're going to want to look to block the creep on the way out to lane to give it sort of the best advantage for you. And you're going to want to farm. Now, one of the things with Luna is, while you're farming, if the enemy hero sort of comes in too close, you can use a Lucent Beam to just nuke them down a little. It doesn't cost a huge amount of mana early on, and so you can use it a couple of times before you actually run out, and it's the only ability you have other than Eclipse that actually uses mana, so up till level 6 you're not going to need to keep mana for something. So if the enemy sort of comes in a bit close, you can harass them down with an auto attack or something, and maybe just Lucent Beam them as they're running away. Just keep last hitting as much as possible because, well, you need to last hit. And have your support sort of stack and pull and do everything like that for you so that you can really just concentrate on farm. Because you need to get that BKB up or you will be very susceptible to dying horribly. Now, into the mid game, this is where you should be having a couple of your items. You should really be having sort of Yasha and BKB, or Drums, Yasha, BKB at this point. And this is where you can actually team fight pretty well. You're going to have Eclipse. Eclipse is going to be able to do a lot of damage right now. And when you go into a team fight, you basically just pop Eclipse and start beating on them. Why? Because you're probably going to have Moonglaves slightly, so attack the most important target that your team needs to kill. Usually a carry or a sort of mid lane hero or something, but just pop Eclipse, pop, you know, Lucent Beam, everything that you can on this one particular person, and, well, you'll normally melt them down because Eclipse just is going to be striking everyone around you. What you really need to look to do, though, is force team fights in awkward places. If you can force team fights after you've murdered a creep wave, go for it. If you can force a team fight in a river or in jungle or something, go for it. Because Eclipse will hit creep, and it's a lot less effective to fight in a creep wave, obviously. Into the late game, when you've got sort of Butterfly and Satanic and stuff like that, like really sort of late in, you just start massacring everyone. Now, this is actually a point where gameplay for Luna is just stick with your team, because at this point, your Eclipse is going to, well, it's still going to do a good amount of damage, but it's going to be slightly less impacting, so you're going to need to be with your team a lot more, sort of for safety purposes, but you're going to be hitting very hard, and with it bouncing between every enemy, you're going to be able to melt down people in fights. Also, straight away attack creep waves and that. Never sort of be with a creep wave. I mean, be with your creep wave, but never be with their creep wave. Get your team to just straight up murder it as fast as possible. Even if they have to use an AoE ability or something that's got a short cooldown, just wipe the creep wave. Because if you are near a creep wave, as I said, when the fight's going on, bad things are going to happen. So that is basically Luna. I mean, she's a very simplistic carry, so I would say she's pretty good for people getting into carries and everything. She's very squishy though, so you do have to sort of situationally play, which means that it's gonna, you know, sort of, if you are getting into the game, I would recommend picking Luna. You're gonna probably have a rough couple of games to begin with because she's got a short auto attack range and she's very fragile, but once you sort of master keeping Luna alive with the basic concepts of a carry, you're gonna sort of know how to keep carries alive better. So Luna's actually quite a good training hero for learning carries, in my opinion. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this guide. If you have, please remember to leave a like, comment, all of that good stuff down below. And for more guides, Dota 2 videos, Hearthstone videos, and stuff like that, subscribe to my channel. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you next time.